I sat in the cramped courtroom, the air thick with tension and unspoken accusations. My heart raced as I heard the judge's voice cutting through the murmur of the audience. "Miss Williams, do you have anything to say before we proceed with the filing?" My fingers gripped the edge of the wooden table, the smell of varnish mixing uneasily with the faint whiff of cheap cologne coming from the lawyer beside me. I felt like I was about to burst. A part of me wished that this moment could just be erased. I had been caught in this vicious web of lies for what felt like an eternity. All because of him, my husband, Ryan, who had once been the world to me. But as I closed my eyes for just a moment, I was swept away to how it all began, the naive love that had blossomed into this chaotic nightmare. The first time I met Ryan, we were at a local coffee shop. The aroma of roasted beans mingled with the sweetness of pastries as I stared into my steaming cup, feeling invisible. He sauntered over, a bright smile on his face and a certain confidence that made my heart flutter. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, his voice smooth and charming. I nodded, choking back a wave of excitement. Sure, I could still remember the little things, the way he brushed his hand against mine when he reached for the sugar, how his laughter danced in the air like music. We spent hours talking, sharing our dreams and fears, and I honestly believed he would be the one to save me from my own loneliness. As weeks turned into months, I found hope in his affectionate words and intimate embraces, believing I had found something special. But those moments were soon overshadowed by the chill creeping into our lives. Ryan lost his job 6 months after our honeymoon, a detail I now recognize as the first crack in our relationship, though it initially felt like a minor inconvenience. "It's temporary," he reassured me with a forced smile as we sat at the dinner table, the air weighed down with the scent of burnt pasta. I remember measuring my response, unsure if my excitement would only add to the pressure. "Are you sure?" I asked cautiously, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. "Maybe we could look at some opportunities together." He laughed, a hollow sound that reverberated against the walls of our cramped apartment. "I'll handle it, babe. I promise." It seemed innocent enough at first, but that innocent promise morphed, day by day, into something monstrous. I watched as he withdrew from our conversations, went silent when I reached out for him, and began spending more time away from home. Each secretive glance at his phone made my heart sink further into despair, but every time I confronted him, I found myself met with a wall of defensiveness. "Why are you always accusing me? Maybe if you just trusted me, I wouldn't have to hide anything," he would shout, his eyes filled with frustration. I swear I could smell the alcohol on him. That bitter scent punctuated his indignation. Familiarity turned into dependency as I quickly realized I could no longer lean on my substitute educator's salary. Our finances dwindled while Ryan spent our savings on late-night escapades and unmentioned needs. The dependency became suffocating. My friends, worried by my growing reclusiveness, attempted to break through the wall I had built. I shooed them away, embarrassed that I was struggling, convinced I could fix everything. "Let's go for coffee," my friend Jenna urged one cold December afternoon as she knocked on my door, her muffled voice muffled by the chill outside. "You need to get out." But being vulnerable sounded terrifying. I can't. I have to be here for Ryan," I lied, letting the warmth of the living room envelop me like a blanket while letting Jenna drift away, her concerned eyes lingering as she walked off. Then came the day Ryan returned home late well after midnight, with a hastily buttoned shirt and a gum-stained breath. The fear gnawed at the edges of my stomach, and I confronted him, clenching my fists as if they could shield me from the impending storm. "Where have you been?" I demanded, the desperation bleeding from my voice. The living room felt colder, shadows stretching in every corner, echoing the increasing distance between us. "Out with friends." "Is that a crime?" he snapped back, eyes flashing with anger. "You never trust me. Why can't you just stay out of my business?" It hurt, the way he turned my concern into an accusation, the way he dismissed my feelings as insignificant. Yet, I felt trapped, with every confrontation resulting in him spinning the narrative to make me feel like the villain. It was a dark, toxic dance, with him pulling the strings while I merely floated where I could. And just like that, the promising love story crumbled further into a reality where I felt more like a ghost in my own home, lost, ridiculed, and financially shackled. Then came the day I decided to reclaim my power, or at least attempt to, when I accidentally stumbled upon a receipt while cleaning his. Study a lavish dinner at a 5-star restaurant with an unsigned credit card. My blood ran cold, the icy tendrils of betrayal wrapping around my chest as I pieced together the missing fragments of our lives. I knew I had to act, to dig deeper into Ryan's hidden world. This was just the beginning. Image prompt: a young woman with wavy chestnut hair falling loosely around her face, wearing a fitted grey sweater that seems to absorb the weight of her worries. Her green eyes reflect a mix of determination and despair as she sits in a courtroom filled with oppressive energy, her fingers gripping the table tightly, grounded yet fragile. Behind her, a judge looms in a dark robe, the gavel poised to plunge the room into chaos. The days after I stumbled upon that receipt were loaded with dread. I could hardly look at Ryan without feeling that icy hand of betrayal wrapping around my throat. Yet, every ounce of clarity pushed me closer to understanding the truth. Fatigue settled onto my shoulders, but determination ignited a fire in my chest. I had to know what else he was hiding. One rainy morning, as I flipped through his texts yet again, searching for any hints or inconsistencies, I noticed a string of unfamiliar contacts, each marked with the same expensive-looking emoji diamond ring. My heart raced. Was this just a crazy coincidence, or was he indeed up to something? With every keystroke, I felt a knot form in my stomach. The message threads featured flirtatious banter, an intimacy I'd never experienced anymore. I waited for Ryan to leave for work, and then grabbed my purse, the embossed leather feeling too heavy as I stepped out the door. I couldn't afford to squander this opportunity. I walked to my car, feeling the little raindrops patter against my skin like the prick of pins, sharp and vivid. I cursed the weather. It seemed like me. The world was stuck in a storm. As I pulled into the parking lot of the restaurant, I suspected he might be frequenting. Every glitzy establishment and fancy restaurant crossing my mind as I parked, I took a deep breath. It felt like diving into an icy pool, each exhale a frozen piece of air. My heartbeat thundered in my ears as I tucked a flyaway strand of hair behind my ear and scanned the area. I spotted him standing at the entrance, casually leaning against the wall, casting a glance at his phone. My heart dropped when I noticed the woman walking toward him, her laughter slicing through my doubts like a serrated knife. She was familiar, and my gut twisted in recognition. She was Rachel, his high school sweetheart, the one I'd heard random tidbits about in passing, stirring blood in my veins that turned into molten rage. "Hey, you're late," she chirped, her voice bright and deceptively sweet as she threw her arm around his neck, drawing him closer. My fists clenched, my nails biting into my palms as I watched the scenario unfold. Lost track of time. Ryan chuckled, leaning into her hold, and in that moment, I believed I could feel my world shattering further. The scent of expensive cologne wafted into the stale air as he leaned closer, and it felt like the air in my lungs had been replaced with sharp shards of glass. "What's she got that I don't?" I muttered under my breath, the bitterness rising and mixing with despair. In the murky depths of my sadness, a whisper of clarity pierced the fog. I needed evidence, not just suspicion. With my instincts flaring, I fled to my car and nearly slipped on the asphalt as I scrambled back inside, adrenaline pulsating like a wild drum. I couldn't simply confront him or Rachel. It would give them an opportunity to cover their tracks, perhaps to paint me as the unreasonable wife. I needed a plan, and fast. That was when I remembered Jenna, my friend, the lawyer, with an unwavering sense of loyalty and a reputation for playing dirty in the courtroom. I called her, gripping the steering wheel as I struggled to keep my voice steady. "Jenna, I need your help." I forced out, and I watched the rain stream down the windshield, smearing my reflection. "It's Ryan. I think he's cheating. Let's meet." Her voice was calm, measured like it always was, yet I could sense her concern lurking beneath. "Where are you?" "Café Noir," I replied after a brief hesitation, driving to the quaint coffee shop we frequented during happier days, not realizing just how priceless those moments became. As I arrived, I could almost smell freedom in the air, each droplet of rain a reminder of how far I'd come. "Sorry I'm late," Jenna greeted, rushing in with her umbrella, the smell of wet grass surrounding her. I could feel the warmth of her friendship cutting through the chill lingering in the cafe, even more pronounced now that I desperately needed it. "No problem. I knew I was a mess. My disheveled hair and frantic eyes gave away my internal chaos. I took a deep breath, the aroma of coffee making my stomach flutter with a mix of anxiety and anger, almost feeling like an old friend. I think Ryan is cheating on me. I saw him with Rachel at that fancy bistro he swears he has never visited. Jenna's brows furrowed in concern as she leaned in closer. Do you have proof? My heart raced as I pulled out the receipt from my bag, crumpled but potent. It was supposed to be just a stupid dinner, but it's not just that. There are texts, and a fabric I think I felt on his shirt was different than before. I ranted, letting every flicker of emotion escape. It feels like I'm losing my mind. I need you to track him down. Okay, I can help, she reassured me, her voice steady, reassuring. Let me see those messages. As I handed over my phone, a sense of relief washed over me. This was the support I needed, the ally I craved, one who could see through the fog of betrayal. Jenna left with my phone and began formulating a plan, all while I sat there, grappling with the fact my husband had taken our love and twisted it into something distorted. With each passing moment, I felt just a flicker of hope amidst the chaos. I wasn't alone in this fight anymore. I had Jenna, and together, we were going to strip away the veil of lies surrounding Ryan. Image prompt. A young woman with long wavy hair, tangled from the rain, sits in a bustling coffee shop with fearful yet determined green eyes. She's wearing a cozy grey sweater, her hands trembling slightly as she clutches a crumpled receipt. Her friend beside her, an assertive figure with short-cropped blonde hair and warm brown eyes, leans in close, her face full of concentration as she examines the phone, the muted colours of the cafe blurring into the background, amplifying the tension that hangs in the air. My heart thudded heavily in my chest as I drove closer to the luxury resort where I had tracked Ryan to meet Rachel. The towering palm trees lined the entrance, casting long shadows on the sun-kissed pavement, the scent of ocean salt mixing with the tropical flowers that surrounded me. Part of me wanted to turn back, to shield myself from the agony of what I was about to confront. But I had come too far, and I was desperate to get answers. I parked and sat in my car for several minutes, listening to the sounds of laughter and clinking glasses drifting in through the open windows. I took a deep breath, the cool air sheathing me as if to prepare me for what lay ahead. Gathering my resolve felt like lifting Ellied weights, but I was determined not to let fear paralyze me this time. After what seemed like an eternity, I stepped out, my sandals slapping the pavement as I trudged through the entrance, powerless against the gnawing fear curling in my stomach. The lobby was stunning, all glass and marble, exuding luxury that felt miles away from my daily life. I caught sight of them through the massive glass doors, their figures woven together, laughter spilling from their lips, like it was a cherished joke only they understood. Ryan's arm was encircled around Rachel's waist as they leaned into each other, standing far too close. For a moment, my breath caught in my throat. I felt invisible, a ghost haunting the realm of their happiness. Just then, my feet moved of their own accord. I marched through the doors, my heart burning with righteous anger. My voice came out sharper than I meant as I interrupted their private moment. Ryan. Rachel. They froze, expressions shifting from joy to shock. Ryan straightened, pulling away from Rachel. An uneasy tension filled the air. What are you doing here? Ryan's face turned pale, a contrast against the golden sun pouring in behind him. I thought you were busy working. Busy? No. I'm busy facing you. I snapped, adrenaline surging through my veins, stronger yet more chaotic than ever. What the hell is going on? Rachel's laugh cut through the thick air like a knife, a sound that echoed off the walls. Relax, Miss Williams. You look ridiculous right now, she purred, her tone syrupy sweet yet laced with venom. Are you spying on us? Spying? I didn't have to spy, Ryan. My voice trembled with emotion. I saw you too. Together. My pleas turned into desperation as I pointed accusingly at Rachel. You think this is some kind of game? Why don't you trust me? Ryan's voice dripped with false indignation, and I could feel his gaze piercing through my defenses. Why would you even think I'd be here with someone else? Because you aren't the person I fell in love with, I retorted, the words spilling like fire, the heat of fear morphing into clarity. Rachel stepped closer to him, slipping her hand into his, a mockery of our once shared intimacy. Honestly, I'm surprised you'd even come here. Don't you have a job to focus on? Her smirk widened, attacking my vulnerabilities one by one. This isn't about my job, it's about you two. The rising tide of betrayal threatened to drown me. You lied, Ryan. You lied about losing your job. You've got it all twisted, don't you? Ryan replied, his voice cooler than the air around us, distorting my passion into something grotesque. You're acting unhinged, and it's embarrassing. Unhinged? I scoffed, desperation creeping into my tone. Unhinged is what you are. Do you even realize what you've done? The moment hung there. The words pierced the air, sharp and clear, but the weight of their impact left me vulnerable. I could sense the audience around us, guests who looked on with growing curiosity. And I could almost hear thoughts forming in hushed whispers. Who's this crazy woman? Look around, honey. No one wants to hear your rant, Rachel interjected, her expression dripping with disdain. I felt heat rising up my neck and flooding my cheeks as one of our old family friends entered the scene, their surprised eyes darting to mine. Everything okay here? Just a misunderstanding, Ryan replied smoothly. She's being a bit dramatic. Dramatic. The word felt like a slap across my face. I opened my mouth to respond, anger bubbling, but words slipped away, leaving me hapless to their machinations. With every passing moment, I felt tension tightening its grip around me, paralyzing me as their voices melded into a blur. Why don't you go home and calm down? Ryan said, his tone patronizing, as if I was the child throwing a tantrum rather than the woman who had just caught him cheating. I'm not crazy, I implored. You're cheating on me. I saw you together. But with each plea, the weight of my voice faltered further, shaping me into the villain they weren't even trying to hide behind anymore. I felt lost in their web, my accusations dismissed, twisted so that even I doubted the truth of my own feelings. Sweetheart, you're just looking for a reason to blow up at me, Ryan said, his voice low yet steady. He met my gaze with disappointment, spinning the narrative so smoothly that I could scarcely remember where I stood. Rachel added, And why would anyone believe you? You're just a housewife who doesn't understand how the world works. With their words weighing so heavily, I began to retreat inward. My heart raced, not with power, but a fear that threatened to crush me. I was trapped under a wave of gaslighting, and I could feel the voices of those around us start to shift, judging me as they turned their eyes away from Ryan and Rachel, whispering amongst themselves. I couldn't breathe. I felt the warmth drain from my face as the laughter from Rachel brightened the air like a cruel taunt. The shadows that loomed over me flickered and shifted, diminishing my strength with every passing moment until I was left to question if I truly had lost my grip on reality. And just like that, I was standing there in the midst of a nightmare where betrayal was reshaped into a weapon against me, leaving me feeling smaller and more powerless with every syllable exchanged. Image prompt. A young woman with tousled chestnut hair, wide green eyes brimming with betrayal and anger, stands in the lobby of a luxury resort. She wears a fitted grey sweater, her fingers clenched tightly at her sides. In front of her, a tall man with disheveled dark hair and an arrogant smirk leaks disdain, with a light-haired woman, her smile both cruel and triumphant, entangled with him. Behind them, the shimmering opulence of the resort looms, but all the glamour feels hollow and suffocating. The aftermath of that confrontation spread through me like a tsunami, drowning my sense of self-worth. I barely made it back home, my mind swirling with disbelief and anger. As I walked into our house, the familiar warmth felt foreign. It was now a prison, and I was desperate for clarity, a breath of fresh air in a room heavy with lies. Ryan was seated on the couch, his expression shifting from annoyance to surprise as he noticed my disheveled state. "You're home early," he remarked, trying to project casual indifference. "Everything goes smoothly?" "Smoothly?" I scoffed, the bitterness clawing at my voice. "You think this is a joke? I saw you with Rachel, and now you want to play dumb? Not this again?" he groaned, pinching the bridge of his nose. "I don't have time for your dramatics." "Dramatics? You were practically sinning in front of me, and I'm the dramatic one." I felt a surge of frustration. The way it boiled in my chest almost felt comforting. It meant I was still alive, still fighting. "What do you think you're doing, Ryan? I can't do this right now." I've lost my job and I need to keep my head straight, he replied, his voice drenched in exhaustion as he turned his gaze away from me. Lost your job? I echoed, incredulous. You mean the job you lied about losing weeks ago? Always have an excuse, don't you? I said I lost it. I had it for a while longer than I told you. I did what I needed to do, okay? His defensiveness reminded me of a cornered animal, desperate and fierce. I felt my stomach churn and twisted further with each detail he offered me, like a mockery of the love we once had. Is that why you've been lying to me? I asked. Why you've been out until the early mornings? Because you were pretending? Please, just give me a break. His tone softened, mingling weariness with annoyance like a dangerous cocktail. No, I won't just sit here and let you manipulate me, I shouted, the reality of our relationship crashing down around me. You're cheating on me. You're choosing to be with another woman. And all this time, you've twisted my concerns into accusations. I'm not cheating on you, he yelled, rising to stand in front of me. Each glare was a dagger pointed at my heart. You've lost your mind. You think that now you can become the judge of what I do. This is your fault. You and your accusations. Excuse me, I retorted, shock rippling beneath my skin. You have no right to turn this on me. I've tried to support you. I've been here. I couldn't help but feel the tears welling, fighting hard to keep myself from breaking down. He scoffed, a cruel twist to his lips. You should have thought twice before coming down on me like a hammer. You think this makes any sense? You're just projecting your insecurities. I wanted a partner, and all I have is a needy child. Those words cut deeper than any wound I could imagine. I opened my mouth to respond. I had always fancied myself a sassy person, but now I felt hollow, a mere shadow of the woman I once was, a woman filled with hope. I hate you, I whispered, though my heart trembled with betrayal more than dislike. Fine, hate me, but don't think that gives you an excuse to snoop around and act like you own me. Ryan's face was tinged with anger, but beneath it, I could see a flicker of despair as he continued. You've stripped my dignity, and yet I'm the one who's wrong here. With those final words hanging in the air, I felt my heart break. It was as if I had expected him to rise to my defense, to offer reassurance that I mattered. Instead, I stood there, as vulnerable as a page turned on a deserted stage, helpless to his gaslighting fury. That night was chaotic and fraught with tension, but it culminated in something I never foresaw. I woke early, the deep stillness around me juxtaposed with the chaos in my heart. I tiptoed around our home, searching for fragments of stability, only to find emptiness echoing in every corner. My safety, my sense of contentment, was evaporating. When I made my way to the living room, Ryan was gone, and all that remained was an envelope lying ominously on the table. My insides twisted as I approached it, fear gnawing at me. I unfolded it slowly, my hands shaking. Effective immediately, we are separating. I cannot live with the constant scrutiny of your suspicions. From today, I will assume financial responsibility for the house. We will discuss how to split jointly owned items once I've sorted my finances. Best of luck finding a place that feels worthy of you, the note read, stark and cold. The breath caught in my throat as the weight of his words crashed over me like waves. I was kicked out of the life I thought I had built with him, stripped of my voice, my worthiness, and any sense of partnership. No. Whispered from my lips, my heart racing in disbelief. With trembling hands, I dropped the letter, feeling raw and exposed. I began to pace the floor, overwhelmed by the reality of my situation. No job, no savings, no support system since every friend I had pushed away. Each tick of the clock echoed the deepening pit of despair swelling in my chest. I glanced around the familiar space, searching for remnants of my life, my dreams, but it felt so cold now. I was zoning out when there was a loud bang and the door swung open. My landlord, Mr. Keith, stormed in with an unsettling gleam in his eyes. "Where's Ryan?" he demanded, his presence darkening the room like a thundercloud. He's not here," I stammered, my heart racing as I stepped back, nervous. Why was the air thick with danger? What's wrong? Listen, you need to get your things. You're overdue on your rent, and I'm not willing to wait any longer. His tone was matter-of-fact, chillingly devoid of empathy. I can't have dead weight dragging me down. This is business. I felt the walls close in, and I had to steady myself against the table. Please, just give me a bit of time. I'll get the money. You've run out of time. You've been nothing but a problem since Ryan left. Now, you need to move out, or I'll have to involve the authorities. His expression morphed into one of cruel satisfaction. Have some compassion. I don't know where I'd go, I pleaded. You can't just kick me out like this. I can and I will, he snapped. You don't belong here anymore. It's clear you need to figure out your life, and it's not going to be in my property. A sob burst forth from my chest as reality crashed down. The small flickers of hope extinguished completely as I stared at Mr. Keith. The fact that I was being thrown out confirmed the depths of my desperation. Where will I go? I croaked, feeling a sense of panic rising from the pit of my stomach. They thought they had destroyed me, I whispered to myself, swallowing heavily, my heart pounding in my ears. If you hate bullies, hit the like button. Faced with the reality of my situation, I felt utterly defeated. With nowhere else to go and the weight of everything pulling me under, I had to find something, the smallest glimmer of strength within myself, or I was done. Image prompt. A young woman with disheveled chestnut hair stands in a dimly lit living room, wearing a fitted grey sweater that hangs loose on her frame, her green eyes filled with desperation. In front of her, a stern older man, landlord-like, stands with an accusatory expression as he wields an eviction notice. The room echoes her turmoiler stark, empty space compounded by shadows that surround her, amplifying her feeling of helplessness. I stumbled back from Mr. Keith, the weight of his cruelty pressing down too hard on my chest. My mind raced like a runaway train, desperately chugging towards the faintest inkling of a plan amidst the wreckage that was my life. Just as I was about to crumble completely, the sound of my phone buzzing on the countertop jolted me upright. It was Jenna. "Hey, I have some news for you," she said after I answered, a sense of urgency ricocheting through the line. "What is it?" I replied, trembling as I wiped away the remnants of my despair, the sharp edges of reality demanding my attention. "I got my hands on Ryan's financials. The transactions don't add up. There's money going in and out of an account that's linked to someone in his past. A lie for something far worse than a misguided affair." I dug deep, and I think I found something. My heart raced. "What do you mean? What did you find?" "There's a name that keeps coming up, Tasha Morgan. She's been associated with various accounts that lead back to Ryan." The name echoed in my mind like an unsettling drum, an unsettling rhythm reminding me of yet another piece of the puzzle slipping into place. Tasha? Who is she? I haven't confirmed everything yet, but she appears to be connected to some criminal activities, money laundering, and possibly embezzlement. I have a feeling Ryan is more than just a cheating husband. This could get deeper. My stomach turned, a cocktail of revulsion and determination swirling together. "What can we do?" "Meet me at Café Noir. I'll show you everything I have." "We need to get enough proof before confronting him or doing anything drastic," Jenna said, her voice steady with purpose. "I'll be there." I hung up, determination igniting, blazing through the ashes of my despair like phoenix flames. I needed this proof, something hard enough to strip the veneer of his lies, shatter the manipulative accusations thrown my way. As I drove to the cafe, the world around me melted into a blur, the rhythmic pitter-patter of rain against my windshield seemingly encouraging my rapid heartbeat. I clutched the steering wheel tightly, feeling the texture of the leather pressing against my skin. The scent of wet asphalt permeated the air as I slid into a parking spot, the moisture clawing at my breath. Once inside, I searched for Jenna, spotting her tucked into a corner table, her laptop glowing faintly amidst a sea of coffee cups. I rushed over, the chatter of patrons buzzing in my ears, mixing with the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafting through the air. "There you are." Jenna smiled, her expression both bright and serious as she motioned for me to sit. "I've been digging deeper than I ever imagined." "Show me," I said, leaning forward, urgency pinching my gut. I could feel my heart racing. This was my lifeline to reclaiming my power. Jenna opened her laptop, tapping deftly to reveal a series of spreadsheets laid bare before me. "This account, Tasha's, isn't just conventional. It has significant cash deposits, mostly from unclear sources, but several are labeled as consultation." I studied the numbers, my heart hammering as I flipped through pages of mundane transactions, only to see that familiar name linked with other shady figures. How does this relate to Ryan? I asked, my voice tremulous with both fear and exhilaration. There's a transfer on the exact date each time he claims to have lost a job or was too busy for work, she explained, her finger tracing a prominent line of numbers, almost like a cover-up. It's almost as if he knows what's coming, and he's preemptively trying to exonerate himself should things go south. The realization froze me, apprehension gripping tightly around my chest. You mean he's using this money to cover up his actions? This is bigger than I thought. Exactly. There's something else, she continued, opening a new window on her computer. I found a record indicating that Tasha was part of his life before, but she didn't just slip away. They were partners. Business partners in something tainted. I'm not clear on details yet, but I think they're in deep water together. What do we do with this? My voice quaked, but clarity surged within me. We need physical proof. I can set up a meeting with a source who'll get more information on Tasha and see if they'll spill about, Ryan. If he truly is involved in something dangerous, this could blow up in his face. I took a breath, grounding myself. Let's do it. The stakes had elevated from betrayal to a twisted web of deception. And with Jenna by my side, I felt an unfamiliar sense of empowerment growing. The details were messy and murky, but they got clearer as the rain drizzled outside, casting shadows that danced against the cafe windows. I could feel the light returning to my gaze, igniting hope through the darkness. Ryan wouldn't see it coming. But even as determination coiled within me, my heart trembled with apprehension. What if I confront him with this? Would it spiral out of control? No. Jenna shook her head, conviction in her eyes. This time, you're armed with the truth, not just accusations. You'll be ready. Her confidence was infectious. And as we spun ideas of what our next steps would be, I felt both clarity and resolve strengthen within me. This wasn't just about Ryan, this was about reclaiming my life, my power, and my future. As we finalized our plans, my thoughts swirled with the upcoming confrontation, a battle on the horizon where I would stand tall. I wasn't just a woman scorned anymore. I was ready to unveil the truth, hiding beneath layers of deceit. Image prompt: a determined young woman with wavy chestnut hair, all too familiar green eyes shining brightly with unyielding resolve, leans over a cluttered cafe table. In front of her rests an open laptop displaying spreadsheets filled with ominous financial figures, a reflection of betrayal. Across from her sits her ally, an assertive woman with short blonde hair and warm, guiding brown eyes, both encircled by the warm, inviting glow of its surroundings, but rooted firmly in an emotionally charged current, signaling an impending conflict. I spent a sleepless night swirling in a tempest of emotions, the enormity of betrayal clashing with the awakening of my power. The morning light filtered through the curtains, warm rays nudging me into action. I needed a plan, a way to trap Ryan and Rachel, to catch them off guard in a way that would leave no room for their usual manipulation. The next few days were a whirlwind of strategic planning with Jenna. We set up a fake invitation to a gala, printing it on thick, gold-embossed paper that screamed opulence. "You know how much Ryan loves to impress his friends," Jenna had said, rolling her eyes at the absurdity while a smirk danced on her lips. "We'll lure him in with a chance to showcase his new success. Should I act cheerful, like I still believe his lies?" I asked, anxiety fluttering in my stomach. "Exactly. Let them think you're just the naive wife trying to hold on." Jenna's confidence bolstered me, fear melting into resolve as I rehearsed what I would say. If I played my part well, I could lower their guard while setting the stage for the ultimate reveal. By the time the night of the gala arrived, my palms felt clammy, but I was clothed in a fitted black dress that hugged my curves and gave me an air of sophistication. I twisted my hair up into an elegant bun, allowing a few loose curls to frame my face. It was my time to reclaim not just my strength, but my identity. As I stepped into the event, the ambient chatter and the clinking of champagne flutes filled the extravagant ballroom with life. The scent of expensive perfume wafted through the air, and I took a deep breath, feeling both exhilaration and trepidation. The golden drapes hung heavily, gleaming under the twinkling chandeliers, but the reality looming beneath the surface coiled tightly around my heart. Spotting Ryan and Rachel was easier than I anticipated. They stood near the bar, their laughter ringing out like crystal chimes amidst the symphony of voices. "Look at them," I breathed to Jenna, who stood beside me, her eyes darting between the pair with calculated precision. He's looking for a way to sweep you back under the rug. Let's make this interesting, she whispered, a sense of mischief dancing in her eyes. Gathering my resolve, I plastered on a bright smile and approached them, determined to maintain my facade of blissful ignorance. "Orion, there you are!" I exclaimed, swinging my arms around him as the tension melted momentarily in my bubbly demeanor. "Hey, babe! I didn't know you'd be here." His voice dripped with false enthusiasm, but I could sense a flicker of surprise cross his face. Rachel's smile flickered for just a second before she masked it with oily charm. "So glad you could join us. We were just discussing the latest investments Ryan has been making," she chimed, her voice sprinkled with feigned sweetness. "Oh, really?" I replied, forcing a laugh to mask the storm brewing within me. "It sounds like you two have been quite busy." I turned to Ryan, gauging his reaction. "I'm glad to see you're flourishing. You've worked so hard." "Absolutely," Ryan said, his bravado spilling forth. "Things are finally looking up," he added with an air of false bravado. Jenna leaned closer to me, her whisper barely audible over the conversation. "Let them dig their own grave." Feigning innocence, I smiled brightly. "You know what they say, fake it till you make it." I tossed the phrase lightly, as if their world didn't crumbling under the dimming lights. "Exactly. You should apply that to your work," Ryan replied, placing an arm around my shoulder, pulling me closer into his hideous web. As the evening advanced, I could see their defenses flickering. The longer I kept this charade a whimsical act of naivety, the more relaxed they became. It was exhilarating, knowing that, beneath the surface, I was brewing a storm of revelation, ready to expose their falsified truth. Halfway through the evening, I needed to ensure they would slip into the trap I had meticulously crafted. "You know, there's something I've always admired about your investments, Ryan," I said, adding a conspiratorial tone to my voice. "Why don't you?" Before I could finish my sentence, the lights dimmed, and a spotlight shifted to the center of the dance floor. The host beckoned everyone's attention. My heart raced. At that moment, everything had to be timed perfectly. I took a deep breath, preparing to set my trap. A moment of public embarrassment where they would have nowhere to hide. "Welcome. We're thrilled to have everyone here tonight." The host's voice echoed through the room, and with every word, I felt a wave of anticipation rise. "Ryan," I nudged him playfully, "let's go check out the dance floor. This could be fun." Rachel's lips pressed into a tight smile as she clung to Ryan's arm. "Oh, I rather think we'd prefer to watch. Come on, lighten up. Let's show them how to have a good time," I insisted, pulling Ryan toward the center of the dance floor, doing my best to disguise my intentions as genuine excitement. All right, just one dance." He relented with a hesitant chuckle. As the music pulsed around us, my heart thudded ferociously in my chest. We began to sway, my eyes locked onto Ryan's, searching for the weakness I needed to exploit. The energy shifted around us, and I could feel the weight of countless eyes upon me, each heartbeat echoing like war drums. And then, just as I preferred, a perfect opening. Jenna sauntered up beside Rachel, her own camera phone in hand, capturing the moment with a sly grin plastered on her face. "You two are just too adorable together," she declared over the pulsing beat, her voice laced with mock sweetness as she tilted the camera at Ryan and my entwined hands near his waist. "Let's get a picture! This is the perfect moment for social media." Her enthusiasm made my heart race. The trap was set. I could see the panic flicker across Ryan's face. "Wait, don't," Ryan started, but it was too late. Jenna moved closer, shifting her gaze to click the phone's button. "Smile, Ryan. This is going to go viral," she teased, an edge of triumph running through her voice. The look of panic in Ryan's eyes was utterly satisfying as I reveled in his fear. It was glorious knowing he felt that tightrope of danger drawing around him. "No escape. You look like you don't want us to capture this moment," I taunted, my voice dripping with feigned concern. "Just a couple of friends," Rachel forced out, her smile now quivering under the weight of my gaze. I smiled, holding Ryan's gaze while pushing forward. "No, this looks like someone who has some explaining to do. I had done it. I had lured them into a web, masking their truth, stirring uncertainty and panic while preparing to unveil their betrayal to the world. I had to decide, forgive or destroy. Tell me in the comments." Image prompt: A woman with wavy chestnut hair and sparkling green eyes dances confidently in a glamorous ballroom, wearing a fitted black dress that glistens under the spotlight. Her expression is a facade of joy masking an inner storm. As her husband, tall and disheveled, stands by her side, caught between fear and embarrassment. Nearby, a friend with short, cropped blonde hair holds a camera phone, capturing the moment, laughter ringing out as fake smiles clash with the tension in the air. The opulent surroundings shimmer in the backdrop, almost mocking the gravity of the situation. The energy in the ballroom heightened as I took center stage, feeling powerful and emboldened. I could sense the eyes of our friends and acquaintances on us, sweeping from Ryan's perfectly painted facade to the truth lingering beneath the surface, and I was determined to expose that truth with the elegance of cold steel. With Jenna casually snapping shots, I leaned closer to Ryan, allowing a playful, melodic lilt to coat my words. You know, it's funny how you always said you were just going through a rough patch. All those times you begged me to trust you. How could I ever doubt you when you spoke so passionately about opportunities and your supposed networking? Can we not do this in public? Ryan hissed, attempting to pull me closer, cloaking the anxiety creeping into his demeanor beneath a false bravado. But I stood firm, holding my ground, centered in a tempest of my own creation. Do you honestly think you can control the narrative anymore? I retorted, my voice steady, unwavering. My heart thrummed beneath my dress, each beat amplifying the thrill of justice dancing closer toward me. You told me you lost your job, yet here you are, living the high life with your ex Rachel. Isn't that right? Whispers rippled through the crowd like electric shockwaves. The laughter and music faded into an anxious hum, surrounding our confrontation in a thick shroud of expectancy. Rachel stiffened beside Ryan, panic briefly flashing across her face. But it was there for mere moments before she masked it with an eyebrow-raising charm. Just how misinformed, she chimed in, her voice dripping with condescension. You really should keep your composure, dear. The quick jab stung, but I wouldn't let her deflate the momentum I had built. Composure? You mean your world spun out of control before my eyes and I'm supposed to stay silent? I turned my attention to the gathering guests, subtly beckoning their interest further. Everyone, let me share what truly lies behind those alluring smiles. Enough, Ryan said, his voice raising above the music, yet faltering as he tried to regain command. This is ridiculous! You're embarrassing yourself. Embarrassing? I pressed, each word curling around the air as I stepped closer, teasing a sense of inevitability. Perhaps I'm simply shedding light on who deserves to be embarrassed here. You told me that losing your job was your end, the breaking point. But instead, you found a beautiful celestial escape with your ex-girlfriend in a luxury resort. On my dime. That's not true. Ryan shot back, but his voice wavered. Uncertainty shimmered across his features, waiting for the ground to fall from beneath him. Oh, but I tracked every dollar! I exclaimed, lifting my chin as I readied myself for the emotional crescendo. Those transactions, the lies woven into your deceit, your entire existence has been a web of manipulation. Every dinner date, every late-night excursion, all financed by money you claimed to be lost. Is it so easy to forget when it's someone else's sacrifice? The room fell silent, the hum of surprised gasps cascading through the air like a low tide. It felt intoxicating to witness their stares. It was the validation I craved, the evidence that the truth was indeed powerful. I have documents, Ryan, I continued, pushing ahead as I noticed the way Rachel's grip around his arm tightened, her confidence waning. I have everything, I claimed, my voice sharp, like the glint of a newly unsheathed sword. Every text, every financial record that reveals you've not just been dishonest. Ryan, you've been criminal. Murmurs grew louder, whispers exchanging tension where they once believed in illusions. We need to fix this, Ryan stuttered, scrambling to regain his pulpit while trapped in palpable fear. Fix this. No, you can't run from what you've built. You can't gaslight me anymore. My heart brimmed with a strange blend of satisfaction and terror as realization dawned on Ryan's face. A flicker of disbelief sparked in Rachel's eyes, her facade of charm fading as she realized her role in the narrative had shifted dramatically. I lowered my voice to slice through the brittle tension sharpened around us. You've painted me as the villain for too long. You twisted my concern into accusations while burying your lies beneath layers of lost jobs and debt. And just when I watched them both squirm against the glow of the chandeliers reflecting on their desperation, I took a step back and gestured to Jenna. Capture this moment, Jenna. Let everyone see the truth, exposed for all its ugliness. Just wait. You aren't going to, Ryan attempted to interrupt, but I silenced him with an icy glare. Foe admonished with a sing-song tone. You don't get to control this narrative anymore. With a nod from Jenna, I felt the rush of adrenaline surge once more. I pointed my finger, embodying the essence of vengeance. Ryan Pierce, you have been unmasked. You set fire to love, forging bonds with deception while dragging my life through filth. And you, Rachel, are merely the torch dangling above the flame. With that final blow, Rachel's vibrant confidence crumbled, and I could hear the collective gasp roll through the crowd, a relevant gasp punctuating Ryan's demise with a flourish. Amidst the shadows of embarrassment, I felt the shackles of my past dissolve. The audience now stood witness to a cruelty unveiled. And as they turned on Ryan, exclamations of disbelief and judgment resonated around me, echoing like a symphony punctuating a grand denouement. While Ryan fell silent, I turned my gaze back to the crowd, a triumphant smile dancing on my lips. So, let's raise our glasses to manipulated truths and broken dreams that led me to this moment of freedom. As cheers erupted, I finally grasped the essence of my power. The jaws of fear snapped shut around my past, leaving only the promise of a radiant new beginning ahead. Image prompt. A young woman with wavy chestnut hair stands at the center of a lavish ballroom, wearing an elegant fitted black dress. Her green eyes shine fiercely as she unveils the truth to a crowd of onlookers, including a visibly disheveled man next to a striking blonde woman, both caught in the chaos of humiliation. The tones of shock and disbelief rippled through the attendees, highlighted by the glamorous backdrop of the event, serving as a striking contrast to the emotionally charged scene. The memory of that night at the gala felt ripe and vibrant, like a delicious fruit one could savor over and over again. I could still hear the gasps of disbelief as I stood, triumphant at the center of the ballroom, ready to dismantle the web of lies spun by Ryan and Rachel. Their humiliation had been palpable. It had consumed them whole. Now, several months had passed since I ripped away the layers of deceit, and I finally found myself standing on the other side of trauma. When I replay the events in my mind, an unsettling thrill courses through me. I remind myself of how the laughers turned to whispers, how judgment dripped like honey in a room thick with tension, and how Ryan's world cliff fell apart, leaving him suspended in fear and anguish. It felt cosmic, almost poetic. A few days after that fateful night, the press had caught wind of Ryan's misadventures. His secret life was laid bare for the world to see. The headlines blared, bright and attention-grabbing. Local man led double life. Cheating husband hides criminal past. I remember the sensation of schadenfreude as I read the articles, each recounting the shocking details of his downfall, his truths cloaked in hushed tones and snickers. Ryan had been banned from his well-to-do circles, those friends who once embraced him savagely bidding farewell. The walls began to close in. Whispers behind doors soon led him to see those lifelines vanish, one by one. Visitors turned to enemies, and as the days passed, the promises he made to salvage his reputation crumbled like stale bread. "Hey, can you believe our friend Ryan is in the news again?" one old acquaintance remarked in a coffee shop where I sipped lattes with Jenna. The irony made me stifle a snicker. Who would have thought he had it in him? Jenna teased, her eyes shining with mischief as we scanned our phones, double-checking blurry photos of him as grey suits slipped away into shadows of disgrace. They told him to get out, eviction notices piled high, the tax collectors knocking on his door, damning him with a sense of worthlessness. Within weeks of that gala night, he lost his job as a consultant, the facade of professional elegance shattered. Soon after, his so-called lavish lifestyle crunched under a mountain of debts that screamed for attention. A few months later, a criminal case broke against him, rooted deep in the web of dirty money and manipulation. I sat in the courtroom, the tension thick enough to slice, as I watched him disheveled, broken, standing in front of a gavel wielded by a judge who almost seemed to derive joy from announcing his fate. "Mr. Pierce, The judge's voice boomed crisply. You are hereby sentenced to 2 years in federal prison for charges of money laundering and fraud. You have squandered other people's trust and your own homeland finite resources. Your illicit escapades will no longer hide behind glossy corporate cards and charming smiles, each word cut with precision, binding him behind iron bars and turning the gears of his miserable life to function without his erroneous charm. He had misled me and so many others for far too long, and now he was stripped bare before the world. As I walked out of the courtroom, a sly smile unfurled on my lips. Freeing myself from his grasp had unlocked the door to a new beginning. I relished the thought of his scattered pieces, wrapped up in a blanket of regret while I blossomed amid shadows. I found me again completely, unapologetically alive. I reconstructed my life brick by brick, surrounded by love and support. Jenna and I became closer, sisters forged in the fire. And soon I opened a small tutoring center, working to reintegrate children who had fallen behind. The laughter of those kids began to fill the void that Ryan's betrayal had carved deep inside me. Every day, they filled the learning space with giggles and inquisitive eyes, craving knowledge as they leaned into the warmth of my guidance. I could feel my spirit soaring with newfound purpose, a mission to help others reclaim their lost potential. Then came the day I stood at the ribbon-cutting ceremony, flanked by Jenna and parents who were eager to learn about the impact on their children. As the paper snipped cleanly in two, the shiny new sign Hope Academy glimmered under the setting sun, a brilliant beacon amidst uncertainty. We did it, I whooped, as balloons flew into the sky, spilling bright colors against the canvas of dusk. Laughter around me was sweet, bathing me in a tranquil resolve. It became a beautiful irony where Ryan once thrived in malevolence. I now built a sanctuary steeped in compassion and hope. My success was cut from the fabric of my determination, and in finding peace with my past, I learned to embrace future dreams. Subscribe for more karma, I chuckled aloud, the words slipping off my tongue like the softest feather, a reminder of how life beckoned with multiple paths, depending on our courage to walk it. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky a brilliant orange, I glanced towards the bright future ahead with a mixture of hope and freedom. All my battles fought gave way to my tender victory. Image prompt. A woman with chestnut hair and vibrant green eyes stands joyfully beside a newly unveiled sign reading, Hope Academy. She wears a bright summer dress that flutters in the gentle breeze, surrounded by laughter and energetic children drawing in colorful chalk on the sidewalks. The golden sunlight embraces the scene, infusing warmth into the figures, symbolizing rebirth and resilience against a backdrop of hope and future victories.